Think of it like this. It's like somebody broke into your house and they went up into your attic when you were at home, and when you were gone during the day, they came down and went through your entire house and went through everything. And when you came home, they went back up to the attic. That's the equivalent of most hackers. And when they get enough information, that's whenever they attack. And it usually is anywhere between a year to 18 months.
Welcome back, everyone. This is our second episode of Tech Made Human. We're so glad that you are joining us again. And if you're new here, welcome. We hope that you enjoy what we are about to share. I think you will. By the way, I'm the host, Marissa Poston, and today we are talking about cyber liability insurance. So here today, I'm very excited to introduce Dave Clark. He is our VP of Strategic Accounts. He's been with AIS for over 12 years, and he actually just had a huge celebration. He has been in the industry for 32 years. So y'all, he knows what he's talking about. So I'm going to have him on. I want him to kind of break this down for you. I'm going to ask him a series of questions. So without further ado, I want to welcome Dave. Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing great, Marissa. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm a little sick today. So for our listeners, I'm sorry if I sound a little icky, but we're going to power through this because, like I said, it's very important. I want to start off first, Dave, I want you to just kind of give us a basic, brief rundown. What is cyber liability insurance,
Sure.
Especially for small businesses?
Sure. So cyber liability insurance is a rider or a separate policy that protects your business if it gets hacked, or if data is lost, or your infrastructure becomes compromised. It protects not only your business, but also your employees and your clients and your financial information, as well as some of your vendors. And it protects you against, first of all, it happening, but then protects you in case it does with a systematic way to get your business up and operational.
Okay, great. And kind of like how I briefly mentioned is that a lot of businesses don't really know that either they don't have it or it's not included in their overall business insurance plan. And I think that's kind of why, this topic is so big and so important, is to just kind of spread awareness and to just educate on kind of what to look for and things of that nature. Absolutely.
It's interesting, most businesses, that we're having this conversation more and more frequently now than we ever have before. And the reason is that a lot more hacks are happening, right? A lot of more ransomware is happening. You're seeing it all over the news every day. Multiple businesses, doesn't matter if they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation or a small business or a government entity, the state of Nevada, for instance, or one of the large casinos. It's possible because there's just so many ways that they can gain access to data, whether through social engineering, whether it be ransomware, clicking on a link by one of your employees. There's just so many ways that it can do it. The businesses are saying, hey, am I protected? And unfortunately, in most cases, they're not. And we can kind of talk a little bit about that further on in our conversation.
Yeah. And that really leads me to probably a popular question that you hear a lot, you probably get a lot too, is we're just too small to be a target. My business is only 5, 10, 15 people. We've never had a problem before. We're not a huge corporation. So why, I guess, really, this is kind of a dangerous belief. What would be your response to that if a small business owner or someone in the small business realm, said something along those lines to you?
Well, it's interesting you say that because that is a frequent conversation. And I have to remind them, what is the least path of resistance for someone who wants to gain access to your data or ransomware? It's going to be the small business owner. And the reason is because they traditionally don't have the infrastructure of a cybersecurity tools that a lot of the major corporations have. But you think about it and say, well, I only have 5 employees. But I'll use an example. Let's say that you're an HVAC company and you have 5 employees and you have some, engineers out in the field that are installing the HVACs. Every single one of your clients, most of which have financed their air conditioning with you, you have their date of birth, you have your social security numbers, you have their personal information, first, last name, their home address, their email. And it's not just your 5 employees that's in danger or your infrastructure. It's everybody you do business with, from your vendors to your clients. And if you really start thinking about how widespread that can become, especially if you've been in business for 20 years, you could have thousands and thousands and thousands upon clients' data that is at risk So it's more than just the 5 people. And don't think because you're small, you're not the one they're going to attack, because quite honestly, the small, medium-sized businesses are attacked way more than corporations.
Yeah, that's scary. And I know we've found that to be true. So Dave, we were talking a little bit earlier, and I want you to explain this to our audience about the 3 major protection areas. And I kind of want you to break this down just to give a little bit more information and education on what these protection areas are, in terms of cybersecurity insurance.
Sure. So unfortunately, most businesses believe if they have general liability insurance that they're protected against a cybersecurity attack. And the fact of the matter is you're 100% not. Absolutely not. They have options for you, right? Whether it be a separate cybersecurity policy or a rider on your existing general liability insurance you have for your business, but there are really requirements in order for them to honor it, just like with any other insurance company. I'll give you a good example. You have car insurance, but if you drove around at 140 miles an hour and you caused an accident, they're probably not going to pay out because that was negligence on your part. When we put it in perspective of cybersecurity and your infrastructure in your business, there's really 3 major areas that they're going to look for. In order to be valid cybersecurity insurance and in compliance, you need to make sure that you have endpoint detection, right? Are you protecting the devices that you have on your network today, whether it be your server, your firewall, workstations, laptops, etc., and have cybersecurity protection? Number 2, do you have safeguards against spam and botware and everything that you'd receive via email that your end users could actually make a mistake, right? Or open up something that they shouldn't? And are you preventing it from even reaching it? And number 3, are you educating your employees, right? The days of saying, I wasn't aware doesn't work anymore with insurance companies or the federal government, because there's so much out there in regards to what cybersecurity means to your business and how you need to protect it. You need to make sure your employees are empowered to make good decisions and be more aware of the information that they're handling and or emails that they have.
Yeah, and you hit on a good point too. A lot of this is really about providing your employees with the tools that they need to help keep your company safe, whether that's training, whether that's, an annual meeting about, new cyber attacks that have been emerging or anything in that realm. So Dave, I want to move on to the next question. And you kind of hit on this a little bit before, but what would you say the minimum security requirements that insurers would need or expect before paying a claim? And I think this will really help kind of explain even further to some of these SMB owners that are interested in cyber insurance.
Sure. Well, there's a couple aspects to look at. First of all, when you get your cybersecurity policy, they're going to give you stipulations of the minimum security requirements that you would have in order to be honored, right, to have your insurance policy. It's going to be this. Do you have a firewall? Right? That's the first thing. Do you have a firewall? Do you have cybersecurity tools that protect your endpoints, which are your devices, and your users? Do you have phishing and spamware for email? Those are going to be the 3 things that they're going to want to focus on. Now, if you take it a step further for other businesses like medical, they have other additional HIPAA requirements. Or we look at financial and Sarbanes-Oxley, or we look at legal, Gramm-Leach-Bliley. They have additional compliancy requirements in regards to having a cybersecurity policy.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of going off of that, how should SMBs think about choosing a coverage amount? So you kind of, you spoke about before car insurance and health insurance and things of that nature. But when we're talking about this, how is an SMB owner supposed to choose a coverage amount?
So a couple things. When you are deciding to get cybersecurity insurance, we recommend that you contact your general liability business insurance company, right? Start with that and have a conversation with an insurance broker, right? We are an MSP. We provide IT support for our clients. We would never tell you what those policy requirements would be. However, here's some things that they're probably going to ask you. If your business was down for a week and all of your data was stolen and you could not operate, what would be the business loss or impact to your business? They're going to ask that, right? Lost revenue, paying employees to not work. There's many different ways to look at it. What is the potential future lawsuits by data being compromised, right? Especially when you talk about like your customers that you have, right? Their data or credit card information. There is the potential that you'd be sued down the road, and you want to make sure that you're protected there. And then number 3, they're going to look at what would it take for your business to be completely down, right? Because they want to quarantine the hack, right? They want to flush that out, but then they have to rebuild your network infrastructure and your cybersecurity tools. And there's a money associated with that as well. So those are the key elements they're going to look at to determine what would the true loss be to make sure that you have the right amount of coverage. Just like a car, right? You can have basic liability insurance, but you can also be covered up to 100, 300 per accident. It's the same philosophy when it comes to cybersecurity insurance.
Sure. So I want to shift a little bit again. I want to talk about the scary thing. And the scary thing is, I want you to walk us through what actually would happen the moment a business is breached or hacked. I think, we can imagine it ourselves. Maybe it wouldn't be as bad as we think it would be. Sometimes it's even just hard to imagine because we've never had a data breach before. But what typically happens?
Yeah. So the very first thing you do if you are hacked is you contact your cybersecurity insurance company. Your cybersecurity insurance company have people that are forensic auditors. And the first thing that happens is shut down every entry point into your network. And so along with those people and your IT company or your IT people that you have on staff, they systematically work together, doesn't matter, 24/7, to shut down all access to your network. Then the next is to go through all of the files, all of the devices, or depending upon the type of hack it is, they need to see where that hack occurred. And they need to quarantine that, right, and set it aside. Think of it like putting it in a jail cell. Once they do that, then they purge it and they go back to the latest instance before the attack. And they reset your network back to where it was prior to being hacked or gaining access to your network. That is in combination with the investigators from the cybersecurity insurance company, which are assigned to you and part of your policy. Also, your IT support or your internal IT working with the executive management team to basically have the best business continuity you can and disaster recovery plan and implement that and get you up and operational as quickly as possible.
And I want to just reiterate real quick. This was a scenario if a company did have a cybersecurity insurance plan or coverage. If you don't, or if you do not know if you have this coverage, your first step is to reach out to your general business insurance provider. Ask if there's a clause in your agreement that they are in fact covering you for cybersecurity insurance. If they're not, or if they're not able to, if they just don't offer that, that's when you would then need to move forward and ask them for someone that they could recommend, or, obviously go down another avenue to make sure you're getting insured. So I just wanted to make sure we're touching on that, because I think that's part of the myth is that, oh, I'm insured. I already have my business insurance. I'm good. Well, yeah, you're insured with your business, but not necessarily from a security standpoint.
Right. I mean, a lot of businesses say, where do we start, right? Where do we even start to get cybersecurity insurance? And you mentioned it, right? You want to contact your current business insurance company. They may offer it. If not, I sure as heck would know, they would know who they could recommend to you, right? That, hey, we work with this other type of company, whatever it may be. Let's say that that's not possible. Then you're like, well, what do I do now? Well, think about it whenever you get your own insurance, whether it be business insurance, car insurance, life insurance, whatever it may be. Maybe you need to do a little research online, right? Like the top 5 cybersecurity insurance companies. Maybe reach out to one of your business partners and or companies that you do business with and ask them, who do they use and what's the experience been like? There's many ways that you can kind of find out who the best are, because just like with every other type of insurance, it's only as good as that insurance company, its reputation and the ability to pay out and protect your business, right? It's not always created equal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to hit you with another scary question. In my opinion, I think it's scary. This one actually might be even freakier, but there are studies and data to back this up that attackers typically sit within your network from around 12 to even 18 months before they even attack. So they are spying on you. They are doing full-blown surveillance without you even knowing it for over a year. So they are watching every move. They are, kind of compiling this report of how you and your employees operate and the steps you do or don't take to increase or decrease security. What does that really mean for SMBs? I mean, that's scary.
It is. Think of it like this. It's like somebody broke into your house and they went up into your attic when you were at home, and when you were gone during the day, they came down and went through your entire house and went through everything. And when you came home, they went back up to the attic. That's the equivalent of most hackers. And you may say, well, why is that? Because you hear all the time they clicked on a link and now all of a sudden they had access to it, or they clicked on this link on their phone or their computer, and next thing you know, they have access to their bank account. That does happen. But the most common hacks are what they call engineered hacks, which means they want to gain access to your network, and there's many different ways that they could do that. They want to sit on your network and they want to learn your behavior. They want to observe. And when I say observe, it's not a person looking. It's the computer system that's actually keeping track of how you process things. It's looking at, oh, well, they log into their bank account. Now we have access to their bank account information. We have keystroking that we can see, and we can see what their username and password is. Those are all the things that they're compiling. And when they get enough information, that's whenever they attack. And it usually is anywhere between a year to 18 months.
Yeah, that's horrifying. That's scary. And I don't like that analogy of someone in my attic either. That all just makes me uneasy.
It's very, yeah. But I will tell you that there are safeguards for that, right? Whether you are partnered with an IT company like AIS, right? We provide IT services to our clients. You have an internal IT, or you do have a person that does IT work occasionally. If you are doing regular audits, which in our case we do weekly, and we are running scans consistently to uncover anybody who's trying to gain access to the network, or block those ones that are trying to access your network and quarantine them before they gain access and get behind, think of it like this, behind your front door of your house. If you have those cybersecurity tools in place, you're really putting your business in your mind at ease, because you've actually done something proactively to prevent that from happening. Think of it like this. If you had a front door and it was made of, I don't know, a screen door. It's a screen door, it's going to keep out flies, but quite honestly, somebody could kick it down. Versus having, let's say, a metal door with a deadbolt and a chain, right? It's the same thing with cybersecurity, right? Do you have a strong firewall? Do you have strong cybersecurity tools? Are you educating your employees? Those are the things that safeguard you against having these hackers be on your network. And if they gain access to it, they're immediately trapped. It's almost like a sting, right? They came through the front door and the cops are waiting in the living room to take them down. And that's the best way to look at it.
So I want to get to a real life scenario, I guess, if you will, because for me, that always really hits home when we're talking about stuff like this. I want to talk about the massive data breach that happened to Target. And to me, it was social engineering. Dave, I want you to walk us through this whole thing. And I also want you to talk about how it affected customers in comparison to how it could affect an SMB's, customer base as well if something like this were to happen.
It happened several years ago, and at first people were shocked, right? All we heard on the headline was that all credit card information for the past 2 years and their transactions and PIN codes were stolen from transactions that happened at Target. You're like, oh my goodness, I've been to Target 14 times in the past year, right? I can't believe this is happening. But what happened was when a forensic auditor came in, a company, they found out that it didn't originate from Target themselves, that Target really did have good infrastructure, good cybersecurity tools, quarantine tools, EDR tools, things like that. It ended up being one of their vendors. It was their point of sale vendor. And you start to think about, am I making sure that the companies that interact with my infrastructure, are they secure, right? It's not just about whether you're secure, it's whether they are. Now, every vendor that you might have a certain minimum level of expectation for cybersecurity protection. But you'd think if you were dealing with a financial institution like processing transactions, you probably want a next level, right? And a lot of things have changed in the governance of cybersecurity in partnerships with vendors, because in this particular case, they gained access to a vendor who is a point of sale vendor, and they gained access to their network. And once they gained access to their network, there was a portal, of course, directly to central banking within Target Industries. Then they could access that credit card information and take 2 years worth of data and then bring it back through Target into the little vendor, and now they had access to it. Now you think, oh my gosh, how do I protect against that? Well, again, you want to have certain minimum requirements of vendors who partner with you, especially with personal or financial records or information, especially medical as well. The second thing is that Target, the impact to them, oh my goodness, the brand impact, right? It was all of a sudden now like, oh, I don't want to go to Target because I don't want my information to be stolen. They had to pay millions and millions and millions of dollars to people who had transacted at Target. They had to provide remote monitoring as a free service to every single client that ever had a credit card transaction in the past 2 years. It ended up costing them right around $45 million for something that they didn't do wrong. They did everything they protect, but something like that just happened. And you think about it, you're like, wow. So my suggestion is that if you are a company who's very concerned about cybersecurity, you deal with people's social security numbers, date of birth, or financial records or medical records, et cetera, you want to make sure that your vendors with those people that interact with that type of information have the same level or at least a minimum level of cybersecurity protection to make sure that you are protected against any potential lawsuit and or impact to your business.
Gosh, that's something else. And again, as a consumer or as a shopper, whether it's Target, whether it's, a vendor for my company, whether it's, it could be 1,000 different things. Why would you ever want to go back to that store or to that dealer or to that, it'll scare you straight enough to know, I just don't have trust in them anymore. And, as we all know, if people can't trust your brand, you're out and they're going to go to someone that they can trust. I kind of want to start to wrap this up just a little bit, but there's a lot that we've talked about. There's still a lot more that we could. It could be a little bit overwhelming, especially if if this is one of the first times you're hearing about this, or maybe just the first time you feel like it's time to pay attention to a conversation like this. If you are feeling overwhelmed and you're an SMB owner, what are 3, easy or practical steps you could just take this week just to kind of give yourself a little bit more peace of mind and kind of start to get on the right track with making sure you're protecting all of your assets?
First of all, you're wrapping it up because obviously I'm really boring. I will try not to be boring on this answer. So the answer to that is really simple. The point of this is not to scare you, it's to educate you, right? And there's a lot of things that people just don't think about. It's impossible to think of every scenario. So the more you become educated, the better off your business is. Today, if you said, what can I do in the next week to make sure that my business is protected? Very first thing is reach out to your insurance provider and see what kind of protection and coverage you have. And ask them those questions of, if you do have it, is my business protected enough? Like, do I have enough on my policy? That would be a great question to ask. If you find out you don't, I would highly recommend that you investigate it as soon as possible and either get a cybersecurity insurance rider or a separate policy for your business. The second thing you want to do is go to your IT people or your IT person or your IT company that you partner with and say, is my business protected on these minimum standards? Do we have EDR, right? Endpoint protection. Do we have that? Do we have a firewall in place today? That's a very important thing. Think of it like a safe door in your business. The third is, what are we doing to protect us against the most vulnerable area of our business, which is our employees, right? Do we have tools that protect their emails? Because that's the most popular way to gain access to a network, right? Social engineering, sending an email, clicking on a link, opening a document. Now, boom, they have access. Do you have safeguards that takes that human element out of it and quarantines it based upon certain parameters? And third, most important, are you educating your employees? Are you making them aware? The first step in making any change in an organization is awareness. And when you start to think about my business, I've protected in all these different ways, but how am I teaching my employees to help protect our business as well? Because they're in this journey with us. And I think if you do those things in the next week, you will feel better about it. And you'll also find out areas maybe where you have vulnerabilities and you don't really necessarily have something in place that's really great, and allow you to strategically make plans over the next 30 to 90 days to get your business protected.
Speaking of the future, I guess a little bit, I also kind of want to get your take on something. Where do you think, or where could you see cybersecurity insurance evolving to even in the next 5 years? I mean, in my opinion, it almost seems like, would it maybe just become mandatory? Would it be something that, you wouldn't just be required to have business insurance, but maybe cybersecurity insurance as well? I mean, where do you really see this going?
Well, let's put in perspective. Is there anything that you do today that is not connected? No, right? Everything that we interact with, from your cell phone to devices. Even your refrigerator and your washer and dryer can be connected to your network, right? Anybody who walks into your house is on your Wi-Fi. Traditionally, they're using your Wi-Fi. The future of cybersecurity insurance, I believe, is going to actually go down to the consumer level, not just the commercial level. And we're going to have to make sure that we're safeguarding, just like you have homeowners insurance or renters insurance, for any loss or potential that happens within your premises, your house, right? Your apartment, your condo. And you're starting to see a little bit of that now, but the more and more our lives get evolves around the internet and around connection and being constantly connected in one way or the other, you definitely are going to see more of a consumer-grade cybersecurity insurance policy making great gains in the marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, before I let you go, we are going to our segment. This is our curveball question segment.
Oh boy.
So I kind of want to get you on your feet here. I want to know, Dave, and we've mentioned this, you talk to SMBs all the time. You get asked about so many different, aspects of IT and connectivity and security and all the things. But I want to know, what's the number? It could be the dollar loss. It could be the amount of downtime. It could even be like liability that you think finally would wake someone up and say, oh my God, I have got to get my business some cybersecurity insurance.
Well, I'll give you an example. We had a client that had 15 employees. The hack that I described earlier is what happened, right? They were hacked over the weekend. They had cybersecurity insurance. They got the investigators involved. They got us involved as their IT company. We completely shut down all access points to their network, found out where the issue was, purged it, and rebuilt their network. They were down for 7 days. The cost of that business was anywhere between $500,000 to $600,000 in damages and lost revenue. Just a 15-person, small, medium-sized business.
Wow, that's heartbreaking. But when you think about it, and we're talking about it now, these things can be preventable. We can be proactive as opposed to reactive. But yeah, that's awful. All right, one last question. I just want to hear it from you. I think I might know the answer to this, but I'm not sure. Out of everything we talked about, we also kind of debunked a couple myths. What do you think is the biggest myth out of everything we've talked about that really does the most damage when we're talking about maybe not having cybersecurity insurance or not needing it?
The two biggest myths are that you have cybersecurity insurance and you don't. You have cybersecurity insurance, but not enough. And third, and most importantly, you have cybersecurity insurance, but you don't have the infrastructure that would allow the insurance company to pay out because you haven't done your minimum requirements. Those are the things that would be the most shocking and things that you need to be aware of.
Okay, y'all. Well, you heard the man, and it seems like y'all probably have some homework to do. And if you don't think you do, you might. So just double check that. Dave, thank you so much for joining us today on our second episode. It was such a pleasure talking with you. I'm sure that you will be on in the future because we just always have so much to discuss and never enough time. You guys, this was Dave Clark. Again, if you want to follow him, he's on LinkedIn. He's on all of our socials. We'll put his little bio down here, but it's Dave Clark from AIS. We also wanted to let you know if you ever have any questions or want to reach out to us, we're always here to support and talk with you. So you can always visit us on all of our AIS social media channels as well as our website, ais-now.com. That will give you our phone number. You can also put in a request form. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you're on right now, most likely, which is the IT Help channel. We really thank you for sticking around with us this second episode. I'm Marissa Poston, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.